Hi, welcome back. My name is Mr. Venti. I'm teaching the kindergarten summer school for the EVSC. So this is for students who were in kindergarten last school year that want to get ready for first grade. I'm a first grade teacher at Kays Elementary School, so I know I've got another great lesson that's going to help students get ready for first grade. I'm going to start like this. You've seen this every single time. This is day 3. It says, this is how I look when I am, and it's all about our feelings. And a lot of you are feeling all these different emotions, so you can see there's happy and sad, angry and excited, silly and surprised. How are you feeling today? If you remember last time I left you, I was reading a book called The Stray Dog. That kind of made me upset. I was thinking, oh, I hope that stray dog doesn't get caught and taken to the pound. And then I started thinking about the time my cat got lost, and I was looking for him everywhere, and he didn't come back until the next morning, and that made me sad. I was kind of thinking about that. So right now I feel sad, but you know what? We're going to read the ending of this book today and have a really fun time together. If I do a good job, I think you and me both are going to be feeling pretty happy today. I hope you're having a great day, though. This is going to be a really fun lesson to put a smile on your face. If you've been watching with me last time, I said let's start a journal, so I have my own notebook for my journal. But if you don't have a notebook at home, you could use blank paper or scrap paper or the back of your worksheet for this lesson. It can be anything you want, but it's a great way to write down our feelings. I'm going to write about that story I just told you. This happened a while back, but it's kind of fresh on my mind. So I'm going to tell you about the time my cat disappeared. So I'm going to say one time, and I do my best to sound out my words. I do my best handwriting, but my journal's just for me, so it's my thoughts and my feelings, but I definitely want to try my best. One time, my cat ran away. I can sound out even those kind of bigger, tricky words. Now, if we were still in kindergarten, this might be enough, but you are almost ready for first grade. So we're going to write another sentence. If that's enough for you, that's fine, but I'm going to push myself and make sure I'm ready for first grade and write another sentence or two. She was gone all night long. Can you believe that? What are you going to write in your journal today? Don't copy my story, because this happened just to me. But maybe you have a story about your pet, or an animal that ran away, or a time that you were sad. Or maybe you want to write about something different. Maybe you want to write about something fun you've done. Or you want to write about your favorite food, or your favorite family member. Or maybe you want to write about something exciting you're going to be doing soon, or something for the summertime. But don't forget, when I do my journal, I want to write and illustrate. And I want to do my best. So I'm going to show you my house, because that's the setting of that story. And I was looking everywhere. So I was in my backyard. I was looking everywhere, and I said, where's my cat? And she was all the way down the block, hiding behind another house. And that's how my neighbor found him and helped us get her back. So I'm going to show you her hiding behind the house. She's got a lot of colors on her, so I'm going to make sure I show you how colorful she is. She was hiding behind this house. She's got 2 pointy ears and a long tail. She was kind of nervous. So she was hiding way over here. I don't know why she ran away. I think I left the door open, maybe. What are you going to write about? What are you going to illustrate? Make sure you get in this journal every single day, okay? This story has a happy ending. I think our story that we read today, The Stray Dog, I think it's going to have a happy ending too. But you know, every time we're reading or writing a story, we're making predictions about what's going to happen next. I guess I should have told you the ending of this story, because right now it has a sad ending. She was gone all night long. I'm going to turn the page and write the ending, and that way to see if your prediction was right. She came home. Can you spell home for me? With that silent E on the end, because O said its name. She came home. Your prediction was right. And my journal has another page in it. The more we write, the better writers we're going to be. And the journal is such a fun place because you can write anything you want in it. Let's get right to our story. I left you with this big book, The Stray Dog. And if you didn't see it, you'll have to watch my other video. But here's the summary. This family went on a picnic, and they found a stray dog. And they almost brought the dog home. But the dad said, no, I bet he belongs to somebody. But even when they left the dog and drove all the way back across town, the family was still thinking about that dog. They named him Willie. And I left you on this page when they went for a picnic and they saw Willie jump out of the bush, but they also saw a dog catcher. "He has no collar. He has no leash," said the dog warden. "This dog is a stray. He doesn't belong to anybody." Oh no, look, he got caught up in the net. Was that your prediction that the dog catcher would catch him? Or did you think he'd run away too fast? Let's keep watching to find out what happens. The boy took off his belt. "Here's his collar," he said. The girl took off her hair ribbon. "Here's his leash," she said. "His name is Willie, and he belongs to us." And look, here's another page with no picture. So you're just going to have to use your brain to look at it and think about your prediction. I told you it would probably have a happy ending, didn't I? How's your prediction so far? Did you guess he'd get caught? Did you guess that the family would take him home? Did you guess that the dog warden would go home empty-handed and look sad? They took Willie home, and after that, they introduced him to the neighborhood where he met some very interesting dogs. And Willie settled in where he belonged. So if you filled out your prediction sheet, if you were right, give yourself a check. If you were close, but not totally right, just leave it blank. You guys are getting so good at predictions. Let me remind you of our prediction sheet. It looks like this. If you have the packet, it's in the packet. And if not, I'm going to show you how easy it is to make this paper. It just says, "I predict that." And there's room for you to write what your prediction is. And there's room for you to illustrate it. Good first graders, we're going to use our writing and our illustration. Maybe in kindergarten we did a lot of drawing. To get ready for first grade, you need to be able to do some writing. Sound out some words, put your thoughts with a pencil, and write that down. We're going to do this a couple more times today, and then we're going to be all set with this lesson, okay? I have a really long story for you, and it's going to be so interesting to see what your prediction is in this. It's called Sylvester the Magic Pebble. And go ahead and predict in your mind what a magic pebble would do. How big is it? What kind of magic can it do? Your mind should be thinking every time I turn the page about what's going to be happening next. On a rainy Saturday during vacation, I think I skipped a page. Sylvester Duncan lived with his mother and father at Acorn Road in Oatesdale, and one of his hobbies was collecting pebbles of unusual shape and color. On a rainy Saturday during vacation, he found a quite extraordinary one. It was flaming red, shiny, and perfectly round like a marble. Did you hear that? I guess in my mind, my prediction was that it was going to be blue or green, but it was red. As he was studying this remarkable pebble, he began to shiver, probably from excitement, and the rain felt cold on his back. He said, "I wish it would stop raining." What's your prediction? Do you have an idea? Look, it stopped. I think it's that magic pebble. To his great surprise, the rain stopped. And it didn't stop gradually as rains usually do. It ceased. The drops vanished on the way down, and the clouds disappeared, and everything was dry. Are you thinking what I'm thinking about a magic pebble? What's going to happen next? In all his young life, Sylvester had never had a wish granted so quickly. It struck him that magic must be at work, and he guessed that the pebble was in the remarkable-looking red pebble magic. To make a test, he put the pebble on the ground and said, "I wish it would rain." And nothing happened. But then he did the same thing, holding the pebble on his hoof. And the sky turned black, and there was lightning and a clap of thunder, and the rain came shooting down. What a lucky day it is, thought Sylvester. From now on, I can have anything I want. My father and mother can have anything they want. My relatives, my friends, and anyone at all can have everything anybody wants. Wouldn't that be amazing? Think about how you would feel if you were in this situation. He wished the sunshine back in the sky, and he wished a wart on his left hind fetlock would disappear, and it did. And he started home, eager to amaze his father and mother with his magic pebble. He could hardly wait to see their faces. Maybe they wouldn't even believe him. As he was crossing Strawberry Hill, thinking of some of the many, many things he could wish for, he was startled to see a mean, hungry lion standing right in front of him. Do you see my post-it note? That means we're going to stop and make a prediction. What is Sylvester going to do? He sees a big, scary lion, but he has something special that you and I have never had if we were going to come across a lion, a magic pebble. So let's get started. So if you have your paper, you can use your first spot. Or if you don't have a paper, you can write like mine. Perfect. We're going to start with I predict that. And that's what the paper says. I predict that, and we're pretty sure he's going to use that magic pebble, but what is he going to do? I predict that he will use magic to go home. Wouldn't that be cool if you had a magic pebble and you could say, I wish I was home, and you'd be home. Or I wish I was at Holiday World, and you'd be at Holiday World. Let's see what he's going to do. But this is my prediction. And so I'm going to draw him back at his house. I'm not very good at drawing a donkey. I know they have 4 legs, a big tail, a long face, and I know what a house looks like. And that lion, he'd be way over here. And he's not looking very nice, so he's got a mean face on. It kind of looks like the sun. But that's okay. What are you going to put on your paper? What's your prediction? Take this time to finish it. I predict that, and get your prediction down. He sees a scary lion. He's got a magic pebble. He could wish for anything he wants. What is he going to do? Are you ready to find out? Get your prediction in your mind and in writing and with a sentence and an illustration. Now, Sylvester could have wished the lion would turn into a butterfly or a daisy or a gnat. He could have wished many things, but he panicked and couldn't think carefully. I wish I were a rock, he said, and he became a rock. The lion came bounding over and sniffed the rock 100 times. He went away confused, perplexed, puzzled, and bewildered. I saw that little donkey as clear as day. Maybe I'm going crazy, he muttered. Did you guess a rock? I'm almost certain you didn't unless you've read this book before. So this time, there's a little box on your paper to check if your prediction came true. Mine did not this time. Did yours? I really don't think you guessed a rock. But let's keep making predictions the whole time we read this book. And then there was Sylvester, a rock on Strawberry Hill, with a magic pebble laying right beside him on the ground. But he was unable to pick it up. Oh, how I wish I were myself again, he thought. But nothing happened. He had to be touching the pebble to make the magic work. But there was nothing he could do about it. His thoughts began to race like mad, and he was scared and worried. Being hopeless, he felt helpless. He imagined all the possibilities, and eventually he realized his only chance of becoming himself again was for someone to find the red pebble and to wish that the rock would turn into a donkey. Someone would surely find that bright red pebble, but what on earth would they make them wish that a rock was the donkey? The chance was 1 in a billion at best. Sylvester fell asleep. What else could he do? Night came with many stars, and meanwhile back at home, Mr. and Mrs. Duncan paced the door, frantic with worry. Sylvester had never come home later than dinner before. Where could he be? They stayed up all night wondering what had happened, expecting that Sylvester would surely turn up by morning. But he didn't, of course. Mrs. Duncan cried a lot, and Mr. Duncan did his best to soothe her. Both longed to have their dear son with them. I will never scold Sylvester again as long as I live, said Mrs. Duncan, no matter what he does. And at dawn, they went about inquiring all of the neighbors. Now, I said most stories have a happy ending, but this one seems pretty sad, doesn't it? What's your prediction? What do you think is going to happen? Are they ever going to find Sylvester? Will he ever turn back into a donkey? How could that happen? Make a prediction with your brain. What's going to happen? They talked to all the children, the puppies and the kittens and the colts and the piglets, and no one had seen Sylvester since the day before yesterday. They went to the police, and the police could not find their child. All the dog in Oatsdale went looking for him. They sniffed every rock and tree and blade of grass into every nook and gully of the neighborhood, but found not a scent of him. They sniffed the rock on Strawberry Hill, but it smelled like a rock. It didn't smell like Sylvester. After months of searching the same places over and over and asking the same animals over and over, Mr. and Mrs. Duncan no longer knew what to do. They concluded that something dreadful must have happened and that they would probably never see their son again. They tried their best to be happy, but their usual ways included Sylvester, and they were always reminded of him. They were miserable. Do you know that big word, miserable? That might be how you're feeling on some really sad days. It's a word that just means really upset and sad. Night followed day, and day followed night over and over again. And when Sylvester on the hill woke up less and less often, He was often hopeless and unhappy. He felt like he would be a rock forever and tried to get used to it. The days grew colder and fall came with the leaves changing. Then the leaves fell and the grass bent to the ground. Then it was winter and the winds blew this way and that. It snowed. Most of the animals stayed indoors, living on the food they had stored up. One day a wolf sat on the rock that was Sylvester and howled because he was hungry. What are you thinking? Is it still looking pretty sad for Sylvester? Has your prediction changed? I'm feeling pretty upset still. Then the snow melted and the earth warmed up in the spring sun and things budded. Leaves were on the trees again and flowers showed their young faces. One day in May, Mrs. Duncan insisted they go on a picnic. Let's cheer up. Let's try to live again and be happy, even though Sylvester, our angel, is no longer with us. And they went to Strawberry Hill. Look where they are. This picture gives me a clue, and it changes my prediction. I was so sad for a while, thinking that this story might not have a happy ending. But my prediction changed, and I have a whole new idea of what's going to happen at the end of the story. Mrs. Duncan sat on the rock. The warmth of his own mother sitting on him woke Sylvester up, and he wanted to shout, "Mother, Father, it's me, I'm here," but he couldn't talk. Mr. Duncan walked aimlessly about while Mrs. Duncan set out the picnic. Food on the rock, and suddenly Mr. Duncan saw the pebble. "What a fantastic pebble," he said. Okay, now my prediction's really changed. They have the pebble. Are they going to wish the right thing? They sat down to eat, and Sylvester was now as wide awake as a donkey that a rock could possibly be. Mrs. Duncan felt some mysterious excitement. "You know, I had the strangest feeling that Sylvester is still alive and not far away." I am, Sylvester wanted to shout, but he couldn't. "Oh, how I wish he were here with us on this lovely May day," said Mrs. Duncan. "Don't you wish it too?" Mr. and Mrs. Duncan looked at each other with great sorrow. Sylvester thought, "I wish I was myself again. I wish I were my real self again." And all of a sudden he was. My prediction really changed with this story. I thought he might never turn out of a rock, and then his family came and brought that pebble. Look, he's back to normal. You can imagine the scene that followed, the embraces and kisses and questions and answers and the loving looks. And when they had finally calmed down a bit and had got home, Mr. Duncan put the magic pebble in a safe. Someday they might want to use it, but for now, what else could they wish for? They had everything they wanted. That was a great story to help you make predictions because it changed a lot through that story. There were some parts where we were really upset, thinking it might never happen. But like I said, most stories have a happy ending, don't they? We're going to move quick and make 3 predictions, and this time when I stop, it's up to you. You've got 3 more boxes and 3 more places to make predictions. This is your task. And once again, if you don't have this paper, or you want to save it for later, you can make your own boxes and say, "I predict that," and do writing and illustrations. Are you ready? This is your final chance to make some predictions. This is a really important kindergarten standard to get you ready for 1st grade. This book's about swimmy. That's our secret word for the day, swim. So if your teacher needs a code word for the day, it's swim. A happy school of little fish lived in a corner of the sea somewhere, and they were all red. Only one of them was as black as a mussel shell. He swam faster than his brothers and sisters, and his name was Swimmy. One bad day, a tuna fish, swift, fierce, and hungry, came darting through the waves, and in one gulp, he swallowed every red fish. Only Swimmy escaped. He swam away in the deep sea, and he was scared and lonely and sad. I've got a Post-it note here, so what's your task? To make a prediction. Get your paper out. What's going to happen to Swimmy? He's all alone. I'm going to sit here and work on mine for just 35 seconds while you get yours done too. Ready? Think about it in your brain, put it on paper, and make an illustration. Take a little bit more time to finish your prediction, please. He's all alone. What's going to happen next in the story to Swimmy? Are you thinking and writing? I have my prediction, but I'm not going to share it with you. I want to see what you say. And then we want to see if your prediction comes true. But the sea was full of wonderful creatures, and as he swam from marvel to marvel, Swimmy was happy again. He saw a Medusa made of rainbow jelly, a lobster who walked about like a water-moving machine, strange fish pulled by an invisible thread, a forest of seaweeds growing from sugar candy rocks, an eel whose tail was almost too far away to remember, and sea anemones who looked like pink palm trees swaying in the wind. Then, hidden in the dark shade of rocks and weeds, he saw a school of little fish, just like his own. "Let's go and swim and play and see things," he said happily. "We can't," said the little red fish. "The big fish will eat us all." "But you can't just lie there," said Swimmy. "We must think of something." I've got my Post-it note. You need to make a prediction. So let's take your second box. What are they going to do? Are they going to stay in the cave? Get your paper out and let's write and illustrate. It says, "I predict that." I'm going to write what I'm predicting. You need to be working on your prediction too. Keep it in your brain, write it, and illustrate it. He finally found other fish just like him. But what are they going to do? They're so afraid. All right, let's keep going. Swimmy thought and thought and thought, and suddenly he said, "I have it. We are going to swim all together like the biggest fish in the sea." What does that mean? I've got my Post-it note here, so I want you to make a prediction. He said, "We are going to swim together like the biggest fish in the sea." How can they do that? Make a prediction, and let's get it on your paper. Write it and illustrate it. Are you working on your prediction? I told you how you can make this even if you don't have this worksheet. It says, "I predict that." And you write what you predict and you make an illustration. What are you thinking they're going to do? Let me read it again. "We are going to swim all together like the biggest fish in the sea." Are you ready to see if your prediction was right? Look what they do. He taught them to swim close together, each in his own place. And when they had learned to swim like one giant fish, he said, "I'll be the eye." Did you use that prediction? He said, "Let's swim like a new fish." And so they swam in the cool morning water and in the midday sun and chased the big fish away. And of course, they lived happily ever after, right? I've told you all day long, these stories almost always have a happy ending. So let's check your prediction. The first one, I said, what was going to happen when Swimmy's friends all got eaten up and he was on his own? My prediction said, he will find new friends. He didn't right away, though. He just went around and finding all new things, so that one I wasn't right on. Were you? The second time, he found those new fish, and I said, what do you think he's going to do when he finds those new fish, but they're kind of afraid to escape their cave? And I said, they will live in the cave. But Swimmy had a different idea, so wasn't my prediction right? Mine wasn't again. Was yours? Check your prediction each time. And lastly, I did predict right finally. I said, I predict they will swim fast like a new shape. And look, I made them make that fish shape. I was finally right, and I made my prediction. How were your predictions? If you didn't finish them, you need to write them down and illustrate them, even though the book's over. Anytime you read a book this summer, your brain's going to be thinking about what's going to happen next, and that's called a prediction. And even if you don't have time to write or draw it, your brain is still going to think it. But if you do want to do that, you could use your journal to make predictions. I hope you've learned a lot about making predictions. Hope you're going to do it all summer. Write in your journal before we meet again. Thank you.